Hello everyone, this is part 5 of What If Naruto Was a One-of-a-Kind Genius, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist. To see more, comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Standing just behind the back door of his house at the Senju compound, Naruto tilted his head to the side. He often did that when trying to figure out what was in front of him, or a puzzling thought that was playing a game of shogi with his mind. Before him stood Jiraiya. The appearance of the man wasn't surprising. It shouldn't be surprising, but Naruto tried to figure out what he wanted. He was not needed, or wanted, at this time. His time would come when they would need to leave the village for some peaceful time. Naruto didn't really have anything against the Sannin. The leaving him thing didn't matter to him. He didn't resent the man for it. He just saw Jiraiya as just another Konoha shinobi and the man who trained his father. He may have been made his godfather, but he forfeited that responsibility when he ran off to drown his sorrows with women from all over the elemental nations. He suffered with his mother while the man embraced his perverseness in its fullest, and did so shamelessly. Yet even so, Naruto held no grudge. If they were related by blood, then he would see the Sannin as nothing more than trash. Just like the bloody villagers crawling around the streets, parading their sick chants of murder to the demon and violating the positive energy that Hashirama had breathed into this god-forsaken village. But Jiraiya was not related to him by blood. He failed his father. He never counted on the man for anything. Jiraiya owed him nothing and Naruto wasn't going to put on a smile just to make the man feel better. He wasn't going to comfort the man just to make things easy for him. The man did what he did, and Naruto wasn't interested in apologies. What do you want, Jiraiya? Naruto finally asked as polite as he could. Jiraiya shifted uncomfortably under the unblinking stare of the blonde. The stare was just piercing. It threatened to crack his mask. Jiraiya held it with both his heart and mind, biting his tongue just so he couldn't crumble down like a rookie. He was a grown man. He was old enough to be Naruto's grandfather. Why did have to shake under the blonde's stare? Get hold of yourself, Jiraiya. The toad sage raged within. It really felt he was being interrogated whenever he stood in front of the blonde. Those blue eyes always had questions, and the tilting of the head further strengthened the impression. At least there was no hatred in those eyes. No, Naruto didn't hate him. Jiraiya was certain of it. The thing was Naruto just didn't give a damn about him. He only came into the mind of Naruto when he needed to be used. It sickened the Sannin that someone so young could have such a thought. Of course Jiraiya was just assuming this. It could all be just his imagination. Nevertheless, there was a high possibility that he might right. Jiraiya swallowed his thoughts. Naruto had blinked. The Sannin assumed it as a signal that the blonde was no longer interested in figuring him out. It could also mean he'd lost patience in waiting for him to respond to simple question, in Naruto's standing point at least. To Jiraiya, there was no easy question and answer when he was dealing with a kid. Jiraiya closed his eyes for a moment. He didn't take too long because he was afraid by the time he opened them, he would be staring at Naruto's back. He felt relieved when Naruto was still there, still staring at him. I came to check up on you, Jiraiya said. His tone was quiet and a bit innocent. I'm fine, as you can see for yourself, Naruto said. He did it on purpose. He disliked the man for his roundabout games. The man never wanted to come straight at him. He liked coming from behind. Naruto didn't want anyone coming in from behind. That was where backstabbers stab you. He was always cautious with his back and he would force Jiraiya to the front. Either by being rude or silent. He didn't care too much to mind about the man's emotions. Is there anything else? Jiraiya winced. The tone wasn't sharp or dismissive, it was mildly polite, but the words were like a sharp knife through his crippled and burdened heart. The toad sage smiled sadly, with a hint of bitterness in his tongue. You're not going to make things easy for me, are you? What do you think, Jiraiya? Naruto asked rhetorically. You're a grown man. I can't spell things for you. It's either you talk or you stop with this indecision. It's not fun for either of us. Jiraiya could agree with the last part. He steeled his resolve and opened his mouth as the words finally came out with some seriousness. What do you think of me, Naruto? Naruto tilted his head to the side once more, his stare grew intense. 21 questions. He shook his head. I think you know the answer to that question, Jiraiya. If you want me to spell it out for you, I see you in the same light as my mother does, with zero attachment. Once more, Jiraiya winced. He would need a bottle of sake from Mount Myoboku after this brutal conversation. I see, he said. I had a really good relationship with your father. He was like a son to me. Jiraiya smiled as a few memories surfaced within his clouded his mind. Naruto sighed. My mother would kill me if I turned away now, he mumbled before he sat down, legs folded in such a way that he was able to rest his elbow, with his hand holding the side of his face. I'm aware of how your relationship was like with my father. There is no need to retell the story. He didn't have the stomach for it anyway. I want to have that relationship with you as well. I owe it to Minato. It can't happen. I'm not my father. The only relationship I see happening, and I am willing to tolerate, is of that of a student and teacher, but nothing past that, Naruto said honestly. You asked me what I thought of you. This is my response. I see you as a strong and experienced shinobi. You're wise and knowledgeable about this world more than most people. Even I am willing to admit that there are plenty of things I can learn from you. Naruto wasn't stupid to say Jiraiya had no uses. Hell, if he pushed the right buttons, the man could build upon everything he has been taught by the Sandaime up until now. The couple of years he would spend with the Sannin would do him some good. You're not giving it much of a thought, Jiraiya said, disappointed clearly evident, but he was still happy that Naruto needed him. If he could train the boy, then it would be something. He could smile, a little. There isn't much to think about, Naruto said with a shrug, seeing that the Sannin was going to be a bother, and he no longer wished to continue with conversation. Naruto spoke once more. On the bright of things, there is a possibility that you can change my mind. I will be spending a couple of years with just you and my mother. Just think of the possibilities. It was unlikely, but Naruto was willing to say anything at this point, especially if it would motivate the Sannin to take him seriously in training. Jiraiya thought of the possibilities, and he liked them. So much that he was willing to grin. Naruto didn't share his happiness. His expression remained the same. But Jiraiya wasn't deterred by it. He was happy, and he wasn't going to allow anything to take his happiness away. This was the farthest he has ever gone with Naruto, and this was a good positive. Thank you, Jiraiya said, but Naruto merely shrugged. Naruto, do you think you will ever forgive the villages for everything? This was an important question, and it was Jiraiya's time to turn his gaze intense. He was a bit unnerved when Naruto matched his intensity. The blonde didn't back down from the staring contest. Jiraiya was even puzzled when the blonde smiled. Already thinking about the future of Konoha, are we? You people annoy me at times. These people tried to kill me when I just a few hours old, and they have loathed my existence ever since. I can't smile because of them. And yet after everything I've been made to experience, you wish for me to sulk up to them because they will eventually change and realize that I am just a person like them. Why can't you just forget about them for a moment? Jiraiya realized, that smile hadn't been a happier smile. It's not like that, Naruto. I care for you and your well-being. It is just that. I think I have given you enough time to express yourself, Jiraiya, Naruto said standing up. Just to be clear, these people you protect are trash, and I will never, ever give my breath away for their skins. I will become the Kyuubi's slave before I die for them like Minato. That said, Naruto turned away from the Sannin. As he turned, Ino was standing there, her expression just flat. She was hiding the fact that she had been eavesdropping. Jiraiya must have known. Probably did nothing because he knew she was connected to him. What are you doing here, Ino? His tone was a little harsh. It was possible that he was ticked off. A little. Sorry for being a good friend, Ino said, a bit loudly. She ignored his sharp tone. She knew he was going through stuff. You're leaving me today, so I thought I'd come and take you out before you leave. Is that a problem? Leaving you? Naruto asked with raised eyebrow. Ino's cheeks flustered a bit. Well yeah, she all but shouted. Come on, she pulled Naruto by his right hand, dragging him away. Watching this, Jiraiya smiled. That was a positive. However, he had screwed up things with that last question. Why did have to go that far? Hell, ever since that day, The Sandaime Hokage hasn't even asked Naruto a question like that. He was more focused on Naruto himself. How could he be so stupid? Konoha was the last thing in Naruto's mind, that is if he thought of the village ever at all. Naruto's words did leave an impression. It wasn't something new. His sensei had said something of that sort. He'd found it hard to believe, but now there was no doubt. Sarutobi wasn't thinking about Konoha when he decided for Naruto to leave the village, he was thinking about Naruto's well-being and his mother's as well. Shouldn't he do the same? Even for a moment. Ramen stand. When Ino said she wanted to get out and eat something, she didn't really mean ramen. She wanted something from a restaurant, something delicious, something expensive. She wanted to eat something other than those noodles. The damn ramen was forced on her. It wasn't that she didn't like it. She has grown to enjoy it, but when out, she preferred something else. Her problem was that she was with Naruto. She couldn't take him somewhere else, not with the glaring eyes of the villagers looking at him with murderous intent. Even before the Uchiha incident, things wouldn't have been different. They'd probably spit on their food. Naruto didn't care about those eyes. Hell, he could ignore them as if they were not there. Ino couldn't, she hated those eyes, and they didn't make her feel any better. But that was the reality of things. As Naruto has learned to live with it, she had to live with it as well. Nay, Naruto. Ino started, slowly, looking at Naruto, who was sitting on her right side, at the corner of her eyes. Did you actually mean what you said to Jiraiya-sama? She'd heard him say those things. She frowned upon that thought, but couldn't fault him. He has endured enough. Yes, Naruto said with a nod. But that should have been obvious to you, right? Ino nodded. It is just hard hearing those words. I know you don't care about them, but I never thought you'd say something like that. It worries me, especially with what just happened. You mean especially after my so-called mental breakdown? Naruto asked, his eyes stayed on his ramen, never looking at Ino, not even for a second. Yeah, Ino responded without even giving it a thought. I still can't believe you'd be blamed for the Uchiha thing. It's sad, yeah, but you can't be blamed for it. My relationship with Itachi wasn't hidden to anyone. Hell, I got well with Fugaku. They were bound to say things about me after Itachi went mad. It's not to say I understand their reactions. I don't understand and never will, Naruto explained, his tone bitter nonchalant. You're okay, that is the important thing, Ino said with a smile. At least you are going to go away from the village. You'll get some much needed peace away from the village's hateful stares. Everything that is unpleasant. Hopefully, Naruto said. Have some faith, will you? Ino said forcefully. How long are you going to be gone for? In your stay at Sunagakure, I mean. It would depend on a couple of things, but he wasn't to stay for that long in the village hidden in sand. A couple of days would do. It was probably that they wanted to give it a chance for him to get to know Temari a bit more. They were contracted to get married after all. Aside from that, the stay in Suna served no purpose. A week at most, Naruto said. We probably won't return to Konoha. What? We might not return to the village after we leave for Sunagakure. Jiraiya will probably pick us up from Suna and we'll go our merry way for a couple of years. He could start dreaming already. The kind of life he would be living away from Konoha was just damn attracting. Naruto thought so, and every inch of his body believed so. All possibilities pointed at the good life, finally walking around without a mad eye piercing through his back. It was warming to think about it. While he has grown to ignore the stares, walking around without them was another matter altogether. And you didn't bother to tell me this sooner, because how could he do that to her? She thought he was only going away to Suna for a week or a couple of weeks then return to the village, but he was actually going away, forever. You do know that you leave the village later on today, right? Naruto turned around to give the girl a blank stare. She stared back. He sighed. I didn't think it would be a big matter. It's not like we hang out every day, anyway. Is that how little you think of our friendship? Ino said. She didn't shout, her tone was quiet, with a bit of sadness coloring it. Naruto blinked. That was not the sort of response he was expecting. It seemed as if he'd said something wrong. He sighed once more again, but said nothing. He figured there was something Ino wanted to add on what she'd said. I thought our relationship was good. I mean, I'm going to miss you when you leave. Who is going to protect me when you're gone? Who's going to be my Black Knight when you're away? Naruto hadn't considered that. Hell, if he were to be honest, he had to say he never even thought about missing Ino. Sure, they got along, but he didn't think he would actually miss her. What more would he require if he was with his mother? Knowing that Ino would most likely snap at him if he didn't give a sufficient answer, Naruto chose his words carefully. It is not as if I don't value your friendship, Ino. Really, I've just been too busy dreaming about the days that await me outside the village to think about anything else really. I do believe that I will indeed miss you. Liar, Ino responded quietly, earning a raised brow from Naruto. I know you, Uzumaki Naruto. I know that you won't think about me. Your mother is all you need, and with her by your side, no other thought will come to you. Naruto stared at Ino for a few moments with his head tilted to the side. She was still smiling. She had smiled when she called him a liar. You think I'm just telling you what you want to hear? Well, duh. Naruto looked back at another fresh bowl that had come his way. He didn't respond immediately. A few thoughts ran through his head before he spoke. When I'm away, who's going to annoy me by blackmailing me to do something? Who is going to annoy me requesting to be saved? I won't amuse myself by watching you chase after Sasuke. Ino didn't lose her smile. So, I guess you will miss me, she said, a bit happily. Later that day, with the sun setting, Naruto's time to leave the village had arrived, and he did so along with his mother, Kakashi, and an Anbu. It was supposed to be just the four of them heading towards Sunagakure. Naruto understood that the Anbu would be hiding in the shadows, looking for threats, amongst other things. The Sandaime Hokage decided to tag along, plus his company of Anbu. As they walked through the village in peace, both mother and son carrying sizable scrolls on their backs. The scrolls contained everything they would need. What was the use of carrying bags when you could carry a simple scroll? It was the advantage of knowing Fuinjutsu. At this stage, Naruto could utilize the art of sealing. He wasn't all good at it like as Minato was, but he understood it. The villagers watched him inventively. It was obvious from the looks that they felt happy, relieved even. It was such an amusing sight. With the way they looked, silent and making way for him, it was almost like they had rolled up a red carpet for them to walk through while they watched. They knew the truth. They knew they were leaving the village. It wasn't a secret that they were leaving. Even if it had been done in a secret, within an hour, those people would realize that Naruto and his mother were not within the walls of the village. Mother, you don't have to get worked up by this, Naruto said. He knew she was thinking about the likely scenario that would play out once they have left the village. We are leaving. They can enjoy it while it lasts. I hope that they treasure it, because unless a miracle happens, that is all they're going to get from us. There is no need to be gloomy, Naruto, Kakashi said. The Sandaime shook his head. It pained him to think that Naruto was excited about leaving. If the blonde so chose, he would rather not return to the village. The Sandaime Hokage knew this. Without a single shed of doubt. If granted the choice, Naruto wouldn't return to Konoha. He would live somewhere else. Perhaps in Sunagakure for protection. I'm not gloomy. Just facing reality, Naruto said with a shrug. Besides, can't you tell I'm actually happy? Kakashi blinked. The blonde looked his usual self. There wasn't a sign on his expression that said he was happy. He looked just impassive, but the frown on the Sandaime's face said it all. He was indeed happy. The Jonin shook his head. How so like Naruto to be happy and yet look the opposite? Is it necessary for you to tag along, old man? Naruto asked, looking at the Sandaime at the corner of his eyes. Why not? Are you that tired of me that you'd want to get rid of me quickly? I thought seeing you out was the least I can do. You're not going to return here, after Suna, are you? Naruto nodded. If I'm given the option, then I won't return. Not before a couple of years. I thought as much, the Sandaime said with a sigh. As they reached the gates, the third Hokage smiled sadly at Naruto. I will miss you, my boy. Keep in touch. He looked at Kushina. Take care. Naruto looked back at the Sandaime, a small sad smile plastered across his face. I'm going to miss you, Sandaime-sama, he said politely before turning around, leaving him standing still. The Sandaime watched the boy leave along with his mother. Naruto had showed him emotion. It wasn't much, but it was something that showed him that the boy was still inside there and that there was really a chance for him to be happy. The Sandaime wished for nothing more than Naruto's happiness. He wanted the boy to have a chance at a normal childhood, and this presented that chance. He allowed this to happen. Allowing Naruto be free was the least he could do. The clan heads may not agree with his plan, they may be against the idea, they may think that Naruto will forsake the village, but the Sandaime had made his decision. This was a good one. If he had allowed for Naruto stay in this hostile environment, he would have been left with only regrets. There was so much more than one could take, and he feared that Naruto was close to his limit. There was a point of no return, and given that episode, Naruto was close to that point. Had he crossed that line, another disaster may have fallen on this village. The Sandaime had no doubt that Naruto would willingly allow the Kyuubi to roam free within the village, destroying everything. If it meant his and his mother's happiness, Naruto was willing to do anything. For these reasons, the Sandaime was happy to have finally made the right choice. Jiraiya flashed to the side of his former sensei, and spoke. "You're going to see him again, you know," the Sannin said softly. He could clearly see that the Sandaime was saddened by the fact that he wouldn't be able to see Naruto on a daily basis. "I know," the Sandaime said, turning around to return to his office. "I've just grown fond of him. I did enjoy the time I spent training him. Conversations with him were never boring." "I can imagine that," Jiraiya said. "You think it is safe to just send Kakashi and Yugao?" "Of course not," the Sandaime said. "Danzo would seize the chance to kidnap Naruto if that chance came. Kushina may be dangerous when angry, but she would do anything if her son was captured, and Naruto would do anything it was his mother who was captured instead of him." "It would be a disaster," Jiraiya said with a shake of his head. "Yes," Hiruzen said with a nod. "Wherever Naruto turns, Danzo would regret the day he crossed Naruto's path. When it comes to his mother, Naruto forgives no one. This is one of the reasons he isn't fond of Minato. Kushina was hurt by Minato's death," Jiraiya said. "Going back to the main dish. Are you going to send another squad of Anbu to tail them?" "Yes. The Kazekage has also agreed to send his own Anbu to escort them." Sarutobi had no doubt that the Kazekage would send his best to ensure that Naruto was safe, and he was sure that the blonde would be treated well in Sunagakure. Naruto was a key to Suna's future. The man understood Naruto's importance in Konohagakure and the power he would wield. He was going to take advantage of this to safeguard Suna's future. Take care of Naruto, and when the blonde is all grown up and powerful, he will remember his goodness. He has been rather cooperative in all these, huh? Jiraiya said. "I guess this benefits him best in the long run. If Naruto and Temari get along, we are looking at a strong bond between Suna and Konoha." "It isn't that only," the Sandaime. "If Naruto decides to leave Konoha, he will go to Sunagakure. His village will have gained a powerful ally. Of course there will be enemies as well, but between Naruto and Gaara, everything is accounted for. Either way, he will benefit from this," Jiraiya said. "I didn't think he was this smart. For which they love, people think deeper and will pull convincing act to safeguard what they hold dear," the Sandaime explained. Rasa thought deep about Suna's future and made a choice. He wasn't sneaky about it as well. "He told me straight to the face. Probably knew you would figure things out," Jiraiya said. "I'm going to get a few things ready before I leave as well. I don't want to leave Danzo with a clean chance to take action." The Sandaime nodded. Fire Country borders. It was in the middle of the night, and the group had camped at the borders on the suggestion of the Suna Anbu. It was dangerous to travel in the desert during the night, they said, and they'd walked all evening, not taking any rest. It was a surprise to the Anbu that Naruto had been able to keep up without so much as complaining about tiredness. When asked, he simply said he could go on and would shrug off any worries pulled towards him. They were unwarranted, he said. Naturally, Kushina knew that even if he was tired, he wouldn't say unless she said something. Her dear son was willing to endure pain just so she was worry-free. It was a beautiful thing that he cared so much for her, but at the same time, Kushina felt saddened. Naruto was still too young to be thinking of her in such a way. It was no use worrying about it now anyway. She knew that part of Naruto wasn't going to be easy to remove. The group was sitting around a fire, meals for the night already discarded. Yugao was sitting with them as well, her mask already discarded along with her Anbu gear. Since there are 2 squads of Anbu with them, Kakashi said it was okay for her to act as just a Jonin, instead of an Anbu. If you keep this up, you're really going to be a stamina freak, Yugao said to Naruto. He had walked all the way without looking tired. She knew he was indeed tired, but he'd hid it well and forced his body to walk with remarkable success. That wouldn't be a bad thing, Naruto said, looking thoughtful for a second. A high level of stamina ensures that you last long in a fight. It's really safe to say that a high level of stamina makes it possible for one to fight even stronger opponents. How do you come to that conclusion? Kakashi asked. He knew the answer, but just wanted to hear that sort of response Naruto would come with. Naruto looked at Kakashi with a raised eyebrow, and there was look that clearly stated what Naruto thought of the question, but he answered nevertheless. A high level of stamina increases the level of endurance. In a fight, it isn't always the stronger who wins. A lot of factors determine the outcome of a fight. Stamina can be one of those. You really do listen when the Sandaime teaches you, huh? Kakashi said. But then again, it should be expected. Naruto really did take training seriously. What would be the point of getting the Sandaime to teach me, if I didn't listen? Naruto asked rhetorically. What is the life of Anbu like, Yugao? He was curious about that life. Naruto had read a lot when Kakashi became Anbu from his mother. The Jonin had turned into a complete robot, a lot more like Anbu from the Foundation. Those were trained to be killers, show no emotion. Danzo believed that emotions were a hinder crane and unnecessary. Naruto thought wrong, but who was he to argue with the War Hawk? In any case, he wanted to know if everyone does turn out like Kakashi when they join the Anbu. Hectic, Yugao said. At times like this, it is when resting. I do get the time to rest when there aren't many problems facing the village. Of course that stuff about we being emotionless are wrong. We just don't let our emotions cloud our judgment. Outside of Anbu, we all have lives. You spent time with Itachi, you should know this. Itachi is a different matter. He doesn't quite fit the equation, Naruto said with indifference in the subject of the Uchiha. So you were the mad one when you turned Anbu. Kakashi shrugged. I was on a bad spell of my life, he said. His sensei had just died. He had no one left. He had been left alone. Obito, Rin, Minato, they had all left him, and he could have done something to save either Rin or Obito. That was a part of his life that had been very dark and gloomy. Kakashi never wanted to go through again. No ever. Well, at least now he does recognize that he has friends, somewhat of a family in Kushina and Naruto. So the attitude depends on the mindset of a person, Naruto said. But that attitude of yours is what made you very successful as an Anbu. I presume too much kindness isn't suited for the job. Kushina butt in before anyone could respond to the question. Are you thinking of joining Anbu, Naruto? She could understand why he would want to join the Anbu. Yes, it made things much more clear. Being in the Anbu would keep him away from the streets of the village and away from the haters. Naruto wanted to avoid him at all costs. She assumed that as he grew up, it wouldn't be easy to hold back from smacking one for saying something stupid. Naruto shrugged. Itachi once asked me to join Anbu and I'd refused, he said. Your mother was the reason, no doubt, Kakashi said. Kushina nodded. I forgot we once had this conversation. What is the change of heart? The red-haired shook her head. It was a stupid question. I'm not changing my mind. I'm just curious, Naruto answered anyway. Well, enough with the serious talk, Kushina said strongly. Can't you guys ask him something a bit more happy? She asked, looking at both Yugao and Kakashi. Kakashi looked thoughtful for a few moments. He'd never had any casual conversation with Naruto. The blonde didn't entertain useless talk with adults. How are you dealing with the Itachi issue anyway? You really close to him? Yugao added. Naruto shrugged indifferently. There is really nothing to deal with, he said. Kakashi sighed, but knew when not to push. Shouldn't we have brought Sasuke? It would have been good for him to be away from the village as well. It's not safe for Sasuke to leave the village with what just happened, and besides, his mother needs him. Mikoto-chan has no one left. They both need each other, and if there is someone who can get Sasuke to behave accordingly, it has to be his mother, Kushina said, earning nods of understanding from both Yugao and Kakashi. Naruto stifled out a yawn. I'm going to sleep. He was really worn out. He'd never done so much physical workout as he did today. We should rest as well. We have to wake up early in the morning so that we can reach Sunagaku by noon, Kakashi suggested. Sunagakur. Who could have thought that Danzo would be willing to do something so predictable and stupid? Neither Kakashi nor Yugao had expected of such an extreme measure from the War Hawk. Kakashi assumed to Danzo, allowing Naruto to roam free within the elemental nations was allowing a powerful weapon to remove its strings from Konoha. The man possibly feared that Naruto would love Sunagakur more than Konoha. If it was a question of love, the man should really know that Naruto has no love for Konoha. In fact, the only reason he was still a Konoha person was because of his mother and his own safety. Perhaps that was the point. Danzo beat the children from the Foundation to submission and made them swear loyalty to him. Kakashi had never heard of anyone from the Foundation ever betraying the War Hawk. He perhaps thought he could beat loyalty to him, not Konoha, into Naruto by taking him away by force. Kakashi doubted it would be a success even if the man did succeed in taking Naruto. The only person Naruto was loyal to was his mother, nothing more, nothing less. He did hope that over time, things would change. It was bound to change, Kakashi told himself. It had happened just after they'd turned in for the night after a long day. Kakashi's shinobi instincts had woken him up from his sleep when they'd sensed something. By that time, Yugao was already up, guarding them in case something happened. There were clashes of battle around their area of rest. The two squads of Anbu had engaged the NE shinobi, dressed in Iwajonin vests. Kakashi could never mistake those from Foundation. He had at times worked with the man during his dark days. It was a pity that the agents killed themselves to avoid interrogation. It was Danzo's greatest tactic. He never liked his secrets known to anyone. Regardless, the corpses were useless because they couldn't get into their minds because the damned seal that destroyed the mind. Even if Danzo was confronted with the bodies, he would simply deny them, saying he doesn't know them. A fool would think that somehow Iwa had discovered Naruto's secret and were after him for payback for what Minato did during the Shinobi War. But to the minds of a real shinobi, such a reason, despite how logical it sounded, was not the real issue. Danzo was. What had Danzo been thinking? The Sandaime had said something of this happening was of high probability and he had been right. Danzo had ordered for the capture of Naruto. It was a wise move on the Sandaime's side to have two squads of Anbu to protect Naruto and his mother. With him and Yugao on the line, one would think it was enough. But they'd been merely put as bait. No matter how powerful he was, Kakashi hadn't been brought along to fight. He was just here for show and for the company, nothing more. The fighting would be a last resolution if the Anbu failed. That in itself had a high probability of bot happening, considering that there were two squads of Anbu. Naturally, Kushina had been downright pissed at this little incident. Oh, Mother Superior was furious that someone would attempt to take away her son from her. Minato had been taken away by the Shinigami, and now Naruto. No way in hell. She had threatened to tear the bastard into pieces with her chains when she returns to Konoha. Kakashi knew. Kushina would ultimately do nothing about it. The dead corpses wouldn't formally be enough evidence to put Danzo on the scene. Knowing the Sandaime, he would just give the Warhawk a stern warning. That was what he has been doing over the past years when Danzo did something stupid. The Sandaime never had the guts to execute the Warhawk for treason. Kakashi would have done it long ago. There was compelling evidence to support the death chair. Kakashi had seen Naruto's twisted look when his mother had been pacing around in fury. He had seen the narrowed look when it became known to him that someone was trying to kidnap him. By that only, Kakashi knew Danzo had made an enemy in Naruto, and the blonde would do something. It may not be next week or next year, but the day would come, and Danzo would pay. Kakashi was certain. He knew how Naruto thought when it came to his mother. Some actions against his mother were seen as blasphemy and that couldn't be forgiven. Naruto could forgive someone from making him feel pain, but he would never forgive anyone for stabbing his mother in the back. Double trouble to both mother and son was only punishable by death. If the Sandaime doesn't get Danzo, Naruto would. Aside from calming down his mother, Naruto had been quiet along the way. His mind was possibly busy formulating plans to make Danzo pay. Kakashi shook his head. What would Minato do in this situation? He would try to get the blonde out those thoughts, or would he leave him to his devices? Minato wasn't here. The question was, what should he do? The Sandaime Hokage will be very angry when he reads the report, Yugao said, and then shook her head. No, by this time, He's already read it and I bet Danzo was summoned to the office some time ago. Kushina nodded with a frown, but he is just going to slap him on the cheek, she said disappointedly. He's been letting Danzo off the hook for many times. It pissed her off that she could let him do as he pleases. The Sandaime had to stand up and show the old fool who the Hokage was. He couldn't allow him to keep this up. A line had been crossed and Kushina wasn't going to forget it. Not until Danzo accounted for his actions. Naruto was her dear son, who tries to separate mother and son. What infuriated her more was that she knew exactly Danzo did to his puppets. It sickened her to think he would think of doing that to her son. He didn't see her beloved, he saw a weapon that needed to be trained to use its power for the good of Konoha. Yugao shook her head. I doubt that, she said. Kakashi raised an eyebrow, looking at Yugao with a question. You think he'll do something much more than that? He may not do something more than that. Possibly because he does understand Danzo's value. However, he may be willing to forgive Danzo for trying to have him killed by you, but I don't think he will forgive Danzo for this, Yugao said before explaining. I have seen him with Naruto in many occasions. I have seen how much he cares. I have never seen him shower anyone with as much affection as he does with Naruto. Trying to touch Naruto will not be forgiven. Yugao looked at Naruto for a moment. I think the feeling is mutual. He just won't show it, she said of Naruto. Yugao has seen how the two interacted outside of training. She's never seen the Sandaime act so concerned and kindly to any of his family members than he does with Naruto. The relationship between the pair was special. It couldn't be broken. On the amusing side of it, both knew how to manipulate the other into doing something. Yugao really found it amusing, especially so when they each knew what was going on, and yet permit it. If there was someone Naruto could cry for aside from his mother, it was the Sandaime. Kakashi nodded. It is, he said. I'm a little jealous of their relationship myself, he added. You wouldn't have to be if you tried harder, Kushina interjected. Kakashi gave his usual response, a nonchalant shrug of his shoulders. I doubt it would have made a difference, he said, eyeing Naruto briefly before looking at the gates ahead. You don't know about that, Kushina said. She herself eyed her son for a moment. She nodded in agreement with her words. Kakashi didn't about that. You never knew unless you tried. Naruto's relationship with Itachi was proof of it. Naruto had been willing to talk to Itachi about anything. They had been close as brothers. Although the bond between Itachi and Sasuke could never be replaced, Naruto was in there. He was friendly with the Sandaime as well. If you really wanted to get close, you could. It was not an impossible task. It just needed someone who was willing to understand and be patient. Perhaps, Kakashi said. Looks like the Kazekage himself is here to welcome us himself, the Jonin said, looking at the group at the gate. They aren't there to welcome you, Yugao corrected. They are there to welcome the rejected prince of Konoha. With the right education and motivation, Naruto could grow up to be a political powerhouse. Kakashi sighed, and I was trying to make myself feel important, he said. Way to ruin the mood, Yugao. Yugao shrugged, I'm just stating the truth. Silence reigned as they finally reached the gates of the village hidden in sand. The Kazekage was surrounded by two of his children, another man, and the two gate guards. Rasa formed a small smile on his lips seeing his guests arrive in one piece and looking good. What he had to do for the sake of Suna. This had to be done. There was value in treating these people with care. He couldn't deny this. The future excited him. He couldn't wait to see the look on his people when they realized that he had once housed the son of Konoha's Yellow Flash in his house, and that the boy was contracted to marry his daughter. The idea was pleasing to his thoughts. Intoxicating even. For a moment of madness, Rasa had even entertained the idea of purposefully letting slip of the truth to the people. Something of that sort would spark a great debate. Konoha would be forced to come out of its shadows and he would be right behind Naruto and his mother. The Yondaime Kazekage kept his smile as his eyes went towards the blonde youngster. He had a book on his right hand, that blank expression on his face. Rasa looked at the book carefully, Fuinjutsu he realized. According to Kushina, Naruto was deep into understanding the theory of Fuinjutsu. Naturally, this pleased Rasa. He'd thought of asking Kushina to teach one of his underlings Fuinjutsu as well. Sunagakure had a great shortage in Fuinjutsu uses. Hell, he couldn't say he had any more seal masters. Those old people had left the village, and those remaining were good, but not good enough. The Kazekage was looking for Uzumaki level good. Then he would be pleased. Nothing short of that level had little value. Perhaps Kushina could even fix the seal on Gaara. Maybe. Yes, she could. Naruto held the Kyuubi inside of him and it was soundly asleep within him. Its powers could be accessed in due time. He had no doubt about that. Gaara was a failure in his current form. He had no value. But if Kushina changed his seal, she could put some value in him. He could be trained well without Shukaku whispering maddening thoughts into his head. Rasa nodded to himself. He would take this opportunity and use it well. It was presented to him. It would be foolish for him not to take advantage of it. With that plan in mind, Rasa greeted the valuable people with a warm smile. Although he wouldn't say it aloud, he'd grown to like the Uzumaki family. They were good people and valuable. He liked that about them. Hello, Kushina, Naruto. I'm glad you made it to Sunagakure okay, he said before turning to the secondary people. Yes, he could call the famed Sharingan no Kakashi secondary to Naruto. The Jonin may be powerful and famous, but to Sunagakure, he was of no benefit. His use would only be shaping Naruto into an excellent shinobi. Rasa greeted the two guards with his guests before turning to see Naruto interact with his daughter. The blonde had a smile. It was small, but a smile nonetheless. He could see that it was a real smile. From what he understood about the blonde, he didn't paint fake smiles across his face. He was straightforward like that. Rasa admired that trait. He admired Naruto in general. The blonde had a keen mind, he was far smarter than any of his children. He was the kind of a child a Kage would need. With Naruto, there were so many possibilities. None he had with his children. At least if Gaara's issues are fixed, more possibilities would become available. Yes, so many. When that does happen, he would shape his son into becoming a proper leader for Suna. Kankuro wasn't suited for that. Hello, Temari, Naruto said, smiling a little. How could he forget that his mother had told him to smile to a girl, especially Temari? He had become used to this one. Even though he only did it a couple of times. Naruto, Temari said, smiling and with a small bow. Naruto waved off Temari's formalities. No need for that, he said. I understand as the Kazekage daughter you're being taught discipline, right manners, proper etiquette and acting the part. But we're still kids, we can be excused for forgetting a few things. Besides, we are like family. If you want to be comfortable around me, you can keep your dignity but still throw away some bits of formality. Temari smiled. She doubted her father would allow for that. But she still allowed her mind to dream. Come on, she said. Naruto followed girl. Kakashi didn't waste time either. He followed after Naruto while Yugao stayed behind with Kushina. Rasa looked on with a smile. They are getting along quite well, he said to Kushina, leading the Uzumaki towards his house. Naturally that was gold. Naruto would end up marrying Temari. Gaara would befriend Naruto and one day, both boys would become Kages. Konoha and Sunagakure would become brothers. What Konoha has, Suna will have. Yes, Kushina said, smiling as well. It's refreshing to see. If we had little more time, I think they'd become friends in no time. Rasa nodded. Temari may be the older one, but she still has a few issues, and doesn't speak her mind. Naruto doesn't have a problem with that, though. He takes after his mother, Kushina said happily. I hope he doesn't take everything from his mother, Rasa said smiling. Certainly, there were some characteristics about Kushina's personality that Rasa didn't wish for Naruto to have as well. What is that supposed to mean? Rasa waved off his hands. Nothing, he said. Family, huh? He said of what Naruto said to Temari. Technically we are family. Naruto is legally engaged to Temari-chan. So, that does make us family. Of some sort, Kushina said. Rasa nodded. I guess it is so, he said. I'm sorry about what I hear in Konoha after the Uchiha incident. It is really unfortunate that you and your son get that kind of treatment. Thank you, Kushina said. While it is unfortunate, it is something we must live with because we can't run away from it. Konoha became my home when I left my former village. It has been my home since and it is still my home. Regardless of everything. Rasa had nothing to say about that. He liked her loyalty though. He was right, these were good people who wouldn't betray their word. Nevertheless, I hope you feel comfortable here to think of it as your second home. Naruto did say we are family after all. With Naruto, I didn't know you knew how to speak to girls, Kakashi said to the blonde. Overall, he was playing his cards right with Temari. The first step of making her comfortable had been executed perfectly, and now they were talking peacefully. Naruto looked at the Jonin for a moment. What gave you that idea? Kakashi shrugged. Your interactions with girls in Konoha. He offered. How does he interact with other girls? Temari asked, looking at Kakashi. She was curious. From what she had seen of the blonde, she would be surprised if it was said he was all smiles and laughs with other people. If he isn't ignoring them, he's telling them they're annoying, Kakashi said. Temari smiled. That sounds exactly like him, she said. I must feel honored that he doesn't do that with me, but actually tries not just to be civil but tries to actually make her comfortable, Temari wanted to say, but swallowed those words. I think Ino-chan will be depressed if she finds out about this, Kakashi said, looking at Naruto. Really, he could be sometimes uncaring towards the Yamanaka girl. Ino-chan. Just some girl. A friend actually, Naruto said before Kakashi could say anything. Where is your other brother? Gaara. Naruto didn't respond. He merely gave her a look. Kankuro was here, so which other brother did she think he would be talking about? Kakashi sighed looking at that. Well, Naruto will always be Naruto. I don't know. I haven't seen him since morning, Temari said. There was something in her tone that made Naruto looked at her curiously. She felt as if she was worried about him. He didn't comment though. I see, Naruto said, looking at the sky. When do you leave? Naruto asked Kakashi. Tomorrow morning. I'm going to take the rest of the day as my time off and enjoy what Suna has to offer. You always have time off, Naruto said. Kakashi merely shrugged. Naruto said nothing of it. He turned to Temari. Did they plan anything for us for this day? He knew something would have been planned for them. Whenever he was here, his time was made exclusive to be consumed with Temari. Yes, a few things. Have all plans cancelled, Naruto said. We can do something later on. Perhaps dinner. I just want to take a nap right now. Temari nodded. I will do so, she said, relieved. She could understand why he would need a nap though. He did come all the way from Konoha, and he didn't seem like the type who'd accept being carried. The following day, Kushina walked towards to the kitchen within the Kazekage residence with a small smile on her face. She felt somewhat free as if there was a load that had been just lifted off her shoulders. She could still be happy in Konoha, but she'd never felt this light since Naruto became the third Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Perhaps it was because she didn't have to worry about someone trying anything on her and her son while they weren't watching. Another matter was the fact that Naruto seemed to be getting along with Temari. Her son was actually treating the girl well. His treatment of Temari was almost how he treated her. Kushina was pleased to see this. He would never do that with Ino. Perhaps it was because Ino knew him that way and wouldn't get angry because she accepted that part of him, and if acted all kind would probably freak her out because she wasn't used it. She understood that Naruto was doing it for his own sanity. He had to believe that humans were not all bad. There was hope, even for his happiness. It made her happy that he had listened to her advice and was making an effort. With how things were flowing, she wouldn't mind staying here for a whole month. It would give Naruto a chance to smile and get along with other children. He needed the positive atmosphere that was within the village. Kushina settled down beside the small kitchen table, where Naruto was sitting along with Temari. The two had just finished their lunch, while Naruto was already done. Temari was still eating. You've settled in rather well, Kushina said to Naruto, smiling a bit. Naruto nodded. We have been coming here, so this is nothing new. Besides, the atmosphere isn't oppressive as it is in Konoha, the blonde said to his mother. You look happy as well, he smiled at that. All was well. If this was home, Naruto wouldn't have any problems. Perhaps his huge growth for his age wouldn't have been forced. Whether he liked to admit it or not, the circumstances in Konoha have really forced him to become what he has become. In this village, he received hope for a better tomorrow. His faith in humanity continuously took a knock at Konoha. Here, it was revived. But this led to the conclusion that Konoha's people were just complete trash. As humans, they were despicable. As demons, they played the role to perfection. Kushina smiled, I'm just excited about traveling around the elemental nations. There are so many places I want to see, and there is that. She didn't have to say it aloud in front of Temari, but Naruto would get it. I truly hope that we are able to find something, Naruto said. The Senju compound is a bit too big for just 2 people. Well, now we have vacated it, perhaps it will be different when we return. The thought of the revival of the Uzumaki clan really did give Naruto a sense of purpose. He would no longer focus on his mother only, but the clan as well. Naruto relished the responsibility. It would make his mother happy and it would fill up a few gaps within his heart. Temari looked between mother and son. They seemed to get along just fine. To think that these two were the family of the Yondaime Hokage. It was a bit unbelievable. They didn't act like it. Still, Temari felt a pang in her heart seeing how two interacted. They were open with each other, and seemed to talk about everything. She missed her mother. She wondered, how would things be like if her mother had been still alive? Would she smile and chat about different ideas like Naruto does with his mother? When we return to Konoha, we should stop by here and take Temari-chan with us. She still does have to visit us at our home. Kushina offered, but Naruto just shrugged. Naruto, Kushina threatened. Naruto smiled, that is a lovely idea, mother. She hasn't seen our new home, I think the time will be the time for her to see it. Perhaps even enjoy her time calling you, Oka-san, the blonde said. Did you just make a joke? Kushina asked with a raised brow. She'd never heard Naruto say something about sharing his mother. He didn't have a problem with that, so long as his time with his mother was not disturbed, but he never actually said something like that out loud. I believe he did, Temari said, finally speaking. What is this new home you're talking about? We are living in the Senju compound. Due to technicalities, it has become our new home. Naruto said. Does that mean you related to the Senju? Yes, it does, Naruto said, not making much of it. I thought you'd know this by now. Temari shook her head, I wasn't told, she said. Naruto looked at the girl for a moment. His eyes stared into hers so intensively and curiously that Temari looked away to hide some embarrassment. Kushina smiled, Naru-chan, you're making Temari-chan blush, don't stare at her like that, she said. Naruto looked at his mother for a moment before nodding. I have lots of information stored inside my head. After you finish eating, I can fill you up on what you need to know. Temari nodded. She was going to take that deal. No one was able to say anything further because at that moment, the Kazekage appeared. Wonderful to see that everyone is getting along, he said smiling before looking at Kushina. This is him. Can you take a look at it and see if you can fix it or just put in a new one? All eyes turned to the small red-haired boy beside the Kazekage, holding a stuffed animal. Temari's younger brother, Naruto realized. He was a Jinchuriki like him, but he was apparently unstable. He didn't look all too unstable to him. Naruto looked at the boy with intense curiosity. He was so curious that he stalked off his chair and walked over to his fellow Jinchuriki. This was the first time that he had actually come this close to the red-haired. Another Jinchuriki like him. He didn't know back then, but now he knew, and it was just fascinating looking at another human, housing a Bayu. Some parts of his heart had a strange feeling. The feeling was so foreign that Naruto couldn't grasp it. He did understand that it wasn't a bad feeling. Was he simply excited to see another Jinchuriki? Was it because he thought he found someone who had something in common with him like it was with Itachi? So many questions, and the object in connection to the questions was standing in front of him. Yet, Naruto didn't say anything. Inwardly, he smiled. While Naruto didn't notice it, others did note that his intense stare was making Gaara uncomfortable. Kushina intervened quickly, Naruto, she called, walking over to the two. Don't stare at him like he is some sort of a puzzle. Naruto blinked as his mother kneeled beside him. Kushina smiled warmly at Gaara. Hello Gaara-chan. We haven't been introduced, but I am Kushina, Naruto's mother, she said holding out her hand. Gaara stared at the hand for a full minute. He hesitantly brought out his own and took Kushina's hand. Surprisingly, it was soft and warm. She meant no harm, he realized. He wanted to smile, but he couldn't. He just nodded. Kushina stood up, still holding Gaara's hand. She picked him up. Gaara was all too shocked to act or say anything. She held him up like she did with her son. She looked down at Naruto and smiled. I knew it. You were making a cold joke, she said, looking at his expression. Naruto merely shrugged. I will check the seal later. First thing first, I want to get to know him, Kushina said. Rasa nodded, he held no objections to that. I will prepare a proper place for it. Kushina shook her head. I can create a barrier myself, she said. Temari-chan, are you done? Temari nodded. Let's go outside. You're coming too along, Naruto. If we look around, perhaps we'll find some ramen, she added, smiling before putting Gaara down. Isn't this Naruto? Quote. Naruto looked at his mother with a questioning look. After we have fixed Gaara, you can have a friend and Temari can have her brother back, Kushina said. She was aware of how things worked at the Kazekage residence in relations to Gaara. What is wrong with him? Naruto asked that, not caring that Gaara could hear him. His seal. It isn't like yours. His Bayu is kind of crazy. It fills his head with madness, so much that he can't even sleep. If he does sleep, there is a possibility that the Bayu might awaken, Kushina explained. What a predicament, Naruto said, expressing no emotion. Are you going to cut off the connection between Bayu and host? That will depend on the seal. I have to look at it first. But yes, the connection has to be cut and the seal has to be made in such a way that Gaara will be able to sleep peacefully. Can you really do it? Make him better, I mean. Temari asked, hopefulness evident in her tone. Kushina smiled. Yes, she said firmly. Hear that, Gaara? I will make the voices go away and you will be loved once again. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.